Hello everyone, my name is Brayden, this is AirlessQuill9, and in today's video we're going to take a look to see what Wizards of the Coast has to say about the new Undead that are going to be showing up in the 2024 Monster Manual next month. Please be advised that I do not have an advanced copy of the Monster Manual. I currently have less than 200 subscribers, so I am not even on Wizards of the Coast radar. If you would like to help fix that, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel so that I can get some notoriety, and we'll see if I can get some information out to you guys early. But we're going to take a look at this video that just premiered today, so hang on to your hats. We're gonna start the video, and let me see if I can play this a little bit faster. And let's get to it.
Everyone likes Undead.
Yeah.
It is a big part of D&D, and there's a lot of variety, and I know you two are big fans.
Yes.
And I am clearly a fan of them, but like we have lots of different types here. We touched upon there are different types of vampires. Can you tell me a little bit about what's new for the Undead?
First, I want to pause for a minute on why do we like these creepy, undying creatures? And now, setting aside that I think all three of us are horror fans, I think they're so popular in D&D, and always have been, because it's actually one of the creature types where you as a player know if you see a horde
It's a little bit of a
clattering skeletons,
hint to the Spectre stat block.
Draining the blood of somebody, a lich that's learning the spell that will allow them to disintegrate half a continent. You know who your foe is, and you have a job to do. Like, there is a clarity to it.
Right.
And I find as a dungeon master that clarity is also often welcome. And so then the story is much more about how you frame it. What's the twist?
A wraith? That's cool art.
To fiends are such a great monster when you want the thing that's going to be there that's scary, and people know, again, they know what their job is, which is to stop that thing.
Yes, this is a problem to be solved.
Yes.
And it's also, I mean, for the fact that anyone in pop culture likes the Undead, you can end it this way.
And that's part of the horror, is Undead, unlike, say, like a fiend, like if you did not emerge from a brimstone vortex as a type of devil, you're never going to become one. Whereas you could become a vampire, your corpse could become a zombie, you could, through some dark rite, emerge as a ghast, you could degenerate into a ghoul. Like, just go down the list, and it's, but by the grace of the gods of the multiverse, there go I.
Yeah.
And again, that's part of the deliciousness of Gothic horror, is there's always a psychological element to it. And really what we've done is expanded the array of ways things could go very badly for a character in terms of their existential path that leads into the realm of the undying.
Right.
And I have a number of favorite new ones. I am excited that we have new types of vampires, because I probably incorporate vampires into more campaigns than I should. I just can't.
We did talk about that in one of my earlier videos, so do take a look at that information if you are curious about what new vampires are coming.
Can't help myself. And so it's helpful to have vampires now at more challenge ratings. We not only have the Vampire Familiar that is a lower CR than the Vampire Spawn, but
CR3.
We also now have the Vampire Nightbringer, which is between the Vampire Spawn and the full-fledged Vampire.
I think CR8 for the Nightbringer.
And then we have the Vampire Umbral Lord, who is then beyond the full-fledged vampire. So
that's CR15.
Have this whole sweep, all with different capabilities. And I have already loved using these creatures in convention play and seeing how each one functions differently. Each of the vampires, particularly among the Nightbringer, the Vampire, and the Vampire Umbral Lord, they each have different mechanical twists. They're not just sort of increasingly powerful versions of the same thing. They each one are a distinct monster with abilities that the others don't have. And so the Dungeon Master not only now has this range of power, but also a range of effect, and also a range of narrative, because each of these types of vampires has a different story for why they are the way they are and what their role is, not only among vampires, but in the multiverse.
Yeah, it's a very similar treatment to almost like how dragons got for their ages in some ways.
Yes.
And you always want to surprise people with different vampire tricks.
Absolutely.
To make it fresh again.
And this also means that you don't have to wait until X level to tell your vampire story.
Yeah.
Particularly now, you can run your whole vampire campaign.
Yeah.
You've got your low-level ones, your mid-tier ones, your high-level ones.
Mhm.
Whenever you want to use a vampire, there's just one waiting for you.
Yeah.
And also, what people are going to see specifically with the vampire Umbral Lord is we've taken one of the variants that was in the 2014 Monster Manual, because there we had a suggestion that you could take the stock vampire and then hack it by giving it spell casting or weapon abilities. And so we took some of those suggestions as just a starting point and developed it into this brand new type of vampire, the Umbral Lord. This is the vampire where if you want a vampire who's floating around in the air, harnessing, magic of the night, well, this is the vampire for you.
I do want that.
Cool.
I mean, and this, I know we're largely talking about Undead, but this is also where like our love for vampires now has even bled over into the vampire familiar, which is the humanoid vampire servitor. So you can have that person who's now, they're still living, but they're on that track to like become a vampire, serve vampires. So now you've even got some characters to associate with your various royalty of the night.
That's
That
good.
was always hard not to be able to like dive right into a vampire story necessarily at level 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And now you can start early.
And we've also, some of the family
Mummy.
expansions come with the monsters. Here we're talking about vampires, but we also now have another type of skeleton. And you can go to many of these different groups, and there's a new one. And so there's also, like, for the Gast is now joined by the Gast Gravecaller. That's not just an expansion for the Gast mini-family, it's actually an expansion for Undead overall, because we see the Gast Gravecaller as a bridge between Ghasts and Liches. The Gravecaller basically is someone who is maybe on a very faltering journey toward lichdom, or a completely botched journey, and Gravecaller is as far as they got. But we wanted to give you a variety of options as a dungeon master if you're going to delve into Gothic adventures or other types of undead-themed adventuring, to give you different ways to get at some of the juicy storytelling options that horror and Gothic in general provide. So if you want a little bit of Lich, but Lich is way too high CR for your group, the Gast Gravecaller is a great place to go. And
That's nice that they have a kind of like a lower tier option for a Lich if you need one. Gast Gravecaller sounds pretty cool, so curious to see what that stop block pertains to when it releases.
And to help DMs sort of notice that connection, we even mention the Gast Gravecaller in the Lich section of the Monster Manual.
That's
so
good.
People can see all of this has been crafted holistically.
And what are some of the characteristics of the Gravecaller?
The Gravecaller has the typical stinkiness of a Gast. But
Stinky boy.
But the Gravecaller, as the name implies, can speak to the dead and
Cool.
has other necromantic-like magic. So whereas a typical Gast is running up close to get its stink on you, the Gravecaller is harnessing this deathly magic and hurling it at you from afar. And then if you get up close, you're going to face the Gast's stench.
There's even a fantastic bit in their narrative where no Gast Gravecaller is just going to be like, oh, I'm just a Gast. But so these guys even pose as more powerful undead. So you'll come into like the ritual site in the like corrupted crypt, and you'll see this undead magic user there amid all of this like necrotic accoutrement and be like, oh no.
Right.
So you still get that real like creepy impact.
I like that.
It might not play out as deadly as a Lich, but there's definitely going to be that moment where I expect your players are going to be like, hold on, what?
Yeah. There's something amazing too with like the Revenant.
We have a couple of new Revenants.
That's good.
We have the traditional Revenant has returned. The Undead that has arisen from the grave with a mission of vengeance that was unsolved in life, and so they are going to keep going in death. But we wanted to have more versions of that. So now we not only have that Revenant, we also have a Graveyard Revenant, which
Cool.
the traditional Revenant is just one corpse that has this vengeance spirit inside it. The Graveyard Revenant is now an entire, as it's in the name, an entire graveyard of corpses.
Oh my
that is,
God.
moving in this giant, like shambling mound-like mass that's coming at you. And so we not only have that horror, but then we also have the Haunting Revenant, which is what happens when that vengeance spirit essentially misses. Like usually, like it aims at trying to get into a corpse.
Right.
But we asked, what happens if it gets into an object, and specifically a very large object, like a house?
That art is amazing.
And so the Haunting Revenant is now this revenant that is, whoops, the vengeance spirit is this whole building, and it is out to kill you.
I love all of it. The art for both of those. Creatures
That's
is
awesome.
fantastic. I feel like
That's really
more
cool.
so than ever, this monster manual has a little bit of Ravenloft shoved into it, and has that identity of like those higher level monsters that you would have to normally see from like other compendiums in second edition.
It's funny, we love that Haunting Revenant so much. There was actually a moment in the layout of the book where there wasn't room for it.
Oh no!
And we were so charmed by the piece of art for it that we actually went through some pretty serious contortions with the writing and editing of the book to get the room back, to get that stat block and that piece of art back in the book.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And absolutely so worth it. I mean, the art's fantastic. The whole family is... Revenants have always been interesting because they've been those undead where, I mean, they're one of the undead that aren't inherently evil. So you've always got this really interesting plot with like this revenge spirit that's coming back and coming back and coming back. So being able to expand that in a way that's so different and shows so much variation really shows how many different types of adventures you can have based off of just that idea. So we're really excited to see how people play with some of these, take that initial Revenant idea, and then maybe use like something like the Haunting Revenant to be, sure, it can be like a whole haunted house, but like a junk heap or a ship that's a haunted Revenant or whatever have you. We're eager to see what some really insidious DMs come up with to put that critter in.
With
That's
that piece
neat.
of art, seeing a ship with a mouth on it would be pretty terrifying.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm a big fan because I've actually done this myself in my own home games. I don't think it existed before, but the Swarm of Crawling Claws, I did this because it's just body horror and the concept of a swarm of them was just disgusting to me, and now you've made it real.
Thank God for the swarm of crawling claws. I mean, yeah, I wanted to do that too. So it's nice that they actually included a stat block for that.
So how did that come about?
Well, another example of us looking for opportunities to give a DM more ways to use a particular kind of monster. So the Crawling Claw, as you said, really is a fabulous, horrific concept. But given how low its CR is, it falls out of sort of at least game mechanical fashion very quickly in a campaign. Because even if a DM has one show up later, it might be creepy for a moment, but once the players realize what it is, it's just like someone stomps on it or casts a cantrip at it and it gets destroyed.
And it's a disconnected level of creepy. Like a severed hand walking around is way creepier than that CR eventually.
Yes. And so we wanted to give it a bit more unlife for the DM. And so with this swarm, now you have a version that is a bit more threatening that a DM can use to create, especially at those lower levels, some real scares with this new monster.
And as soon as the art came in for this piece and we saw that the character being victimized by the swarm of crawling claws had one of the claw's fingers in its mouth.
So gross.
Yeah, it was just like, so that's that is the horror of this monster.
And we did briefly talk about in the everything about the Monster Manual video that we have the Death Knight returns, but now the Death Knight has a built-in entourage as well. That's possible, right?
Yes, the Death Knight aspirant.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic because this is another example where it means that you don't have to wait till high level to use one of the most classic monsters in Dungeons and Dragons. You can now have Death Knights showing up early, but then on the other side of this, it means that your Death Knights are no longer these high CR threats that are saying things like, go get them, my skeleton minions, I guess, who are just going to be trounced because they're lower level. Now you have soldiers that are appropriately, more appropriately leveled for Death Knights to be commanding and to go up against the sort of characters who might be facing Death Knights.
Yeah.
We have some returning monsters that did not get any undying companions, but instead their functionality has been enhanced, and in some cases the creature has been made far more terrifying. So in the functionality enhancement category, we have the Dracolich. Before, the Dracolich was largely a template you applied to a dragon, and this time we really wanted to give it distinctive abilities so that when it shows up, it truly feels like a different experience from a living dragon. And so people are going to see a number of things in this undead dragon that is going to fill them with dread. And on the we made it scarier
Examples?
category is the ghost.
Okay.
Members of the D&D community got to see.
They didn't give us any examples of what the Dracolich can do. But I imagine that I imagine now what it is the stat block has options within to have it be of a particular dragon type, but it's going to be a full stat block that functions for the Dracolich. And he didn't say, but I would think there might even be 2 different stat blocks, one for like a younger Dracolich and then one for an older one. Would be my assumption, but we'll have to see. But ghosts.
See this in action not too long ago at PAX Unplugged when I had the new version of the Ghost appear on stage in Acquisitions Incorporated. And the ghosts hit the characters for so much damage. They were like, wait, what just happened? And this is also a part of the promise that we have made that a number of creatures that before maybe weren't actually as threatening as it seemed like they should be for their CR. Watch out. And the ghost is one of those watch out creatures.
And for the entire monster manual, this is an opportunity to make things scary again, because players can get too comfortable.
Exactly.
I'll need to watch that video of that PAX Unplugged game so I can actually get an idea of what that ghost was doing in combat.
And sometimes the scariness in a monster will come from, the numbers went up. But other times the numbers will actually be similar.
Different behavior.
But the scariness exactly will come from the different behavior. This is something people are going to see going back to the vampires. You're going to go up against vampires like Vampire Spawn that maybe you have fought before that suddenly are easily disengaging from your attacks and crawling away across the wall or ceiling. And that Vampire Spawn that you thought you had pinned down, like, these guys are easy, suddenly they're not. And those are the moments I'm looking forward to people having that, even though we're continuing on 5th edition and now this revised form, there is surprise everywhere.
Speaking of different
I'm excited to see what changes are made to all these monsters.
behaviors, there's creatures like the Banshee, where we've mentioned in some of our past videos where so many of the different monsters now have little tables associated with them that are just going to be like idea generators, adventure springboards, that sort of things. The Banshee was a fantastic example very early on where we had room for a little table, where Banshees are always associated with having some sort of, they appear before a tragedy, or there's so many myths about when they show up or why they show up that we wanted to present wouldn't it be neat to have this little suggestion of like torment compel a Banshee to do X, Y, or Z? Well,
I'm curious to see if Banshees are still going to be elven spirits or not, because in the old monster manual, they're specifically elven spirits, but I imagine that might not be the case in this new monster manual. I would like for them to open it up a little bit.
was really with the Banshee where we did that pretty much first, and we're like, oh, we like this. This is fun. And then it ended up rippling throughout so much of the book. So now you've got these little idea generators, and even for something like the Banshee, now it's got in your story, maybe instead of just having the Banshee only show up in this one way, now you've got a host of suggestions for when and how you might use it, hopefully encouraging you to use some of these monsters in ways you've never considered before.
What's fun with how the Banshee is set up in this monster manual is with that, there's always purpose for a Banshee to show up in the narrative, regardless of what CR rating you're at. You can discover a Banshee, and maybe it isn't a combat encounter. It's informing you as to an event is about to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we still have our zombies.
Yeah, zombies.
A regular zombie, and then we have like an ogre zombie.
All of the zombie variants from 2014 have returned, so that includes the ogre zombie and also the beholder zombie. And we're still going to see the demi-lich, the flame skull, all the greatest hits. But again, in the skeleton category, you're going to see a new type of skeleton, the flaming skeleton, which was back in 4th edition, actually one of my favorite types of skeletons to use. So when we were planning out this book, it was a skeleton I wanted us to bring back. So now skeletons also have a magic using option among them. And the flaming skeleton is the focal point of the amazing piece of art we have for the skeleton section.
That's
what
cool
kind
to
of
see.
makes the flaming skeleton in this? Because immediately I see the 2nd edition art.
Yeah, so the flaming skeleton is, it's one of those ones where it's like it's on the tin. It's like
Yeah.
it is. It's
I'm expecting there's fire damage.
yes.
Involved.
It is not only hurling fire far away, but it also has a fiery melee attack. And if you destroy it, watch out because it explodes. And so basically, flaming skeletons are walking bombs.
Yeah.
And so they are extremely dangerous. And this will be one of those things where a group might need to time when they destroy it, because if the fighter or the barbarian, say, are standing right next to it, and the ranger or the rogue way over there is like, look, I'm going to destroy it, and your friends might be, whoa, 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 I'm still standing next to it.
I like
An
that.
incredible piece of art for the skeletons as well is one of my favorites, because it's skeletons, but it's so clearly D&D skeletons. Like right in the mix there, you're seeing a bunch of humans, but then there's also a few skeletons in the mix that have horns, suggesting that they're the skeletons of tieflings. So it's not just that these are like, you know, off-the-shelf skeletons. It's a scene that feels so D&D, and I absolutely love that.
We talked about all the art for the Undead. Feels like it's all part of its own genre by itself. It has that gothic flavor. When you're looking at the Wraith, when you're looking at the Spectre, it all feels part of the same campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. Why are vampires so scared of water elementals doing the dash action? Oh, because running water damages them.
All right.
It's just like, is this a dad joke? This feels like a dad joke.
That fed me like a vampire.
Yes,
Your face.
I was about to say, you right now are playing the role of an energy vampire.
Yeah.
And you just succeeded at leeching away some of my life force.
James, do the light thing. So sorry. I couldn't let that one go. It was inside of me. It's better that it eats you apart than me. Thank you so much for watching this video. We will have a ton more videos all about the different monsters in the new monster manual. You can purchase the brand new monster.
Okay, excited to see the rest of this. But yeah, sounds like there's some nice additions to the undead category. I like that we're seeing some additional stat blocks for existing types of undead. I'm very curious to see these stat blocks, so can't wait to get access on this. I should have access on February 4th on D&D Beyond, so I will be doing a long format video where I'm look at every single stat block, and then I'll definitely do some separate videos to talk about specific stat blocks in particular. But yeah, very excited for this stuff. I like that they talk about undead. We'll see what other creature they talk about this week, and I know that they might have some more videos coming out next week as well. I will not be here for the latter part of the week. I do have videos queued to come out on my normal days, but I will not be able to film whatever video comes out on Thursday. So do keep an eye out for whatever video that is coming out the following week. As soon as I get back on Monday, I'll film that video. I'll probably come out that Tuesday is when I'll get to that. So this Thursday, don't expect a video, but next Tuesday, expect at least a video on what came out Thursday, and then probably a second video on whatever releases that week on that Tuesday. But yeah, I'm excited to see what else they talk about. I like hearing about the monsters that are going to be featured in the new monster manual, so we'll talk about it when these videos come out. But until then, thank you all for watching. I appreciate your support. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content from me. I have quite a few videos available right now if you want to see how to create a background or a monster. Those videos, or the background is definitely up. I think the monster video will come out this Friday, and then next Monday I'll have a video out on creating magic items, so keep an eye out for those videos. But until then, I will catch you all in the next one. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.